Clark Kretz,
Here.
Ryan DiMartini,
Here.
Scott Toussaint,
Here.
and I don't see Beth yet. Vice Chair Bonnie London.
I'm here and Beth is in the attendees.
Okay, we'll move her out of.
I see Beth Williams Riskoff.
Yeah, she's on our board.
So can you,
Oh no, what I saw was Beth Cohen.
Yeah. Can you move your window down a little? Who are you covering up? Oh, we're covering up John and Lucy.
And
Okay.
Lucy. I'll
And
cover
then
up.
I'll add John Ireland.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do not have Thor, who I know sent us in an email telling us he wasn't coming, and then
I see John Cunnington.
Correct.
Okay.
all right. So did you finish roll call? I want to make sure. Okay, great. Now we are off. Any committee comment for items not on the agenda? Committee members? Any members of the public have any items that they want to discuss not on the agenda?
For our participating attendees via Zoom, if you could just raise your hand, I can allow you to talk if you have any comments at this time.
So if you have something that you want to discuss that's not on the agenda, that's not covered under tonight's meeting, now would be the time to talk. Okay. You'll have plenty of opportunity to talk on the items of the agenda. Okay. Okay. All right. So it doesn't look like there's any comments here. Nothing on Zoom, Mary Beth?
Nothing on
Okay.
Zoom.
Now would be the time for the adoption of the agenda. Before we do that, though, I would like to perhaps move some things around. We do have some of our experts that are leaving maybe a little bit early today. So what I would like to do is have our study area narrative. Mary Beth has an item that she wants to talk about regarding circulation. And then I think we should move the land use changes up just so that we have our people that are able to stay. We have some people that might have to leave a little bit early. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to discuss prior to us moving to adopt the agenda? And is there a comment?
It was Anders saying he has to leave.
Okay.
Too.
Is everybody in agreement that we can move those around, committee? Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, can I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda with those changes?
I move to adopt the changed agenda.
I second it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Okay, Jan Clark Kretz,
Aye.
Ryan DiMartini,
Aye.
Scott Toussaint, Bonnie London,
Yes.
okay.
Did you hear Scott?
I did not.
Scott, did you want to make a vote?
Yes, I said aye.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And did you ask John? Oh, he's an
John's an
auxiliary.
auxiliary.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to open up a comment on our consent agenda. Does anybody on our committee have anything they'd like to talk about on the consent agenda? Or members of the public? You have something you want to talk about on the consent?
On the consent agenda, the agenda that you're going over is the May 13th agenda, right? Is that the agenda that we're talking about?
So I believe it would be the September 9th
The September 9th
minutes.
minutes.
And no, fine, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. Anybody else have any comments? And if not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to
approve. Speech, Bonnie. I'll move to approve.
Okay, so Ryan moved to approve. I think Bonnie seconded, right?
Yep.
Okay. Jan Clark-Kretz,
Aye.
Bonnie London,
Yes.
Brian DiMartini,
Yes.
Scott Toussaint,
Yes.
and that's everyone. Thank you.
Great. We'll just go ahead and pass it right over to Mary Beth.
Certainly. So just to be certain that our technical staff, Mark Teague from PlaceWorks and Lucy Rollins from PlaceWorks are on board with beginning this discussion with the land use changes. Are you prepared to take it from that point going forward, please?
And then didn't you want to discuss something with circulation, Mary Beth?
Oh, yeah. There was a question about circulation and traffic on Sierra College Boulevard and how that impacts the land use designation change requests. Andy, did you want to say something here?
Yeah, I think we're all aware that there's a number of projects in the Lincoln area, Placer County, that will impact Sierra College Boulevard, along with projects in the city of Rockland that are still being developed that will impact Sierra College Boulevard into the future. So it's one of keeping those in mind as we look at potential land use modifications, but also keep in mind as we consolidate all of the committee's recommendations into a single package to go to the Planning Commission. From there, it's going to go and there will be an environmental impact report prepared, which will specifically look at traffic and mitigation. Many of the questions will be better answered at the Planning Commission level after we have the environmental impact report prepared. But just be aware there's a number of projects that will most likely impact Sierra College Boulevard in the future.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, are we ready to go through the requested land use changes?
Yes, sir.
All right, so this is the PowerPoint presentation. We've skipped all of the other pieces. And I think we can take care of the first one pretty easily. It's been withdrawn. So we've made some progress there, unless the committee has some reason they would want to make the change. And I would draw the committee's attention to this document that should be part of your packet that explains what's going on or what the requests were and why, and we can refer to that at different times during the discussion if it's appropriate or necessary. Is there anybody, Chair, that would want us to keep this in when it's been requested to be withdrawn?
No, I mean, I don't, unless any committee has anything to say about it. If it's withdrawn, I don't think we need to discuss it unless anybody on our committee does. Looks like Jean has her hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Jean, go ahead. Jean, you should be good to go.
Jean, we cannot hear you.
Try again. Jean, you would need to unmute, please.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. It wasn't about number one, which I think is fine. I was thinking we might want to look at the ones in the RA first, the green ones. That's probably going to be the easiest one to talk about. But when we get to the other ones, the R1, could we have some information on the effect of the new housing laws about splitting properties and things like that, so that we know, for instance, if we're putting it to a 1 acre, are we in effect zoning it to ½ acre or something like that? So if we could have, when we get there, have some background information for that. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Jean.
Yep, we can talk about that when we get there. So if we're done, let's go into number 3. which is 5945 King Road. And the parcel request, here, I'll put it up so I don't have to read to you. Can you read that, or is that too small?
A little bigger, please. There you go.
So the request is to change from general commercial to light or limited industrial. It's on the corner of King and Swetzer.
Can we see the map, please?
Yes.
And
So
this is
yeah,
a parcel that we discussed in the business corridor because it is connected to that whole area.
Right.
Little discussion last time on that.
And then if we could make that map just a little bit bigger, maybe just on that one area so that people can, and what is the zoning right behind there? It's,
yeah.
There's general commercial zoning and there's a building on it. There's a small commercial building on that GC land.
right, that's where
Woody's
is, yeah. Okay, thank you. Maybe down just a tad.
I'm trying, but it's a PowerPoint, not a Zoom map. Sorry. So
Nope, that's perfect. You
Yeah,
were
but
almost
it's back.
Yeah, no, I'm fighting the software at this point. It's just being annoying. All right, there we go.
Thank you.
Sure. And I can even pull up an arrow if you like, but that is Woody's right here. Right there.
Right.
Okay. Now, is the owner present today or no?
No, but we did receive confirmation that he wants to pursue that.
Okay.
And that was part of the certified letters that went out to individual property owners, and he replied to that.
Okay.
He was originally the one that requested it in the first place, so he just confirmed his original request.
Is there a staff recommendation on this? Or no?
Staff being me at this point, I would say ILT would be appropriate to continue that same ILT distribution that goes down Swetzer Road. When you go across Swetzer Road towards the tracks, it becomes industrial and not the limited industrial. So that would, that corner, it's weird. I drove by there the other day and the sign on that corner says Swetzer Business Park. And then there's the vacant parcel. So it seems logical to continue the ILT land use there and not interrupt and try to change it from the other side of the road.
Are we talking about the parcel on the left-hand side when you make the right-hand turn, the first?
That one.
Yeah, to change that to ILT.
Mm-hmm.
So access is going to be a problem for that parcel because it's depending on what you put there and where they put the driveway. So that'll be a concern probably. You don't want to have too many. You can't have a driveway too close to the intersection.
Yeah.
And then depending on what the use is that goes there, you could have a, light industrial concrete tilt up right on the corner. For what it's worth. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm opposed to changing it, but those are two
does
considerations.
The owner, let's see, he's, yeah, construction with the wood, okay. Anybody on the committee have any questions, comments?
This is Bonnie. Has the owners of the commercial property next door been contacted, or the businesses? Just because I think there's a couple of restaurants, and it'd be interesting to find out how they felt about this.
We would typically do that at the public hearing process for the planning commission and town council. We wouldn't typically do it for something like this.
And contact hasn't been made that I'm aware of, has it, Mary Beth?
No.
Okay, that's a good point, Bonnie. Anybody else have any comments?
I think, regarding the lack of a better word, strip mall with Woody's and the 3 different restaurants back there, increasing that industrial, light industrial, limited industrial on that parcel would only provide them increased business, but.
And Mary Beth, anything that goes in the IL requires a use permit, correct? So there would be town review prior to anything going in for traffic and visuals?
Yes.
Okay.
Any new build of any type, of any zone of the commercials or industrial, any new build requires a full use permit.
All right, anybody have any comments? So basically what I'm hearing though is that because of the way that this is going through, a lot of the people that are directly impacted may not be aware of this change. And so just want to keep that in mind. We certainly can recommend this, but at the same time, they could also go through a regular general plan update when they would have to go through a different process, and that process would definitely notify all of the neighbors in that area.
Correct.
And when this goes to the commission, because it is a regular general plan update process, at that point in time, residents within the 300 feet will be notified. So that's once it's at the commission, once you get to the EIR stage, then those notifications will be required.
All right, and so committee members, I know that we've not really done this before, and the proper mode of getting either passed or not in our auspices here would be a motion to approve this change or a motion to, I guess, not, with a recommendation to perhaps follow through with a general plan update separately from this, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Anybody on the committee have anything they'd like to add or any feelings about the direction that we're going to go?
Have a hand raised.
Okay, Nita.
Go ahead, Jean.
Am I unmuted this time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, my question about Sean raised, I think the visual part we would work on before it got an approval, but as far as Sean's concern about the traffic and the access, is there sufficient distance there to put the driveway without being too close to the intersection? I have no idea how long that is, except I guess thinking about if it backs up to the strip mall behind it, I guess that's fairly long space.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 200 feet here, according to Google. I'm not a surveyor. I just play one with Google here.
So how long do we usually require for this type of business to be from an intersection? Or is that not matter that much here? If it's a warehouse, they're going to be presumably bringing in semis or something, I assume.
Anybody have an answer for Jean?
I don't, this is Sean. I don't remember the standard, but like off the top of my head, but I think it's 200 feet from an intersection. So if they had the driveway at the far end, that would work, but then you've got 2 driveways staggered right next to each other with the property to the north. I mean, and it's not like we can just say, well, sorry, you don't meet access requirements, so you can't build on your property. I think the bigger question is, not to get too far into the weeds and trying to plan somebody's site out for them ahead of anything. because whether it's commercial or it's industrial, it's going to have that same access issue that can get worked out one way or another. I think the question for the committee is, are you okay with putting in, rezoning that, or not rezoning, but changing the land use designation to industrial from the commercial there? In a perfect world, the best access would probably be from the parking lot where Woody's is, but there's it's not significant, but there is a grade differential there, maybe about 5 feet that I think that's about it off the top of my head. So I wouldn't get too hung up on where they're going to put their driveway. That's sort of that's not really something that we need to figure out now. It's more about, are you okay with changing the land use there? And then the property owner will have to figure out the access, just the same way that they would have to figure out the access now.
Thank you, Sean. I see John Ireland's hands up.
Yes, go ahead, John.
Yes, I was basically going to be making the same kind of comments that were just made. That we don't want to get too far into the weeds and into the details of what might go in there. If it's general commercial, we would have the same issues or very similar issues to if there was light industrial. And personally, I feel as though this makes for a very logical transition from the light industrial that already is there to change it from GC to light industrial.
Okay, so John, is that a motion?
Well, I can't make a motion. I'm not a voting member.
Thank you. All right, committee. Anybody else?
I think that it makes sense to do the transition too. I mean, the industrial's there. I'll make a motion to change it.
And Ryan, just to confirm, that's light industrial and not limited industrial?
Yes.
So it is not the same, correct, as what's right behind it. Is that right?
Correct. The light industrial is to the east.
Yeah.
So the light industrial is what is adjacent to it right now, correct?
As in where the
Well,
metal
it's adjacent to
fabric-
both. Right now, it's adjacent to ILT, which is right here, and then light industrial, which is right here, and then general commercial, obviously here. So it's adjacent to both.
We perhaps clarify what the request was by the property owner, whether they wanted limited or light.
It's either light or limited.
Yeah, the request says or.
That's very true.
Light or limited.
So back to the motion.
The request is the neighboring ILT or IL zones. So either one.
Ryan, did you recommend a general plan designation? I can't remember what you said.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, first I didn't realize it was an IL or an ILT. But I do recommend that section we're on right now changing to either one. I think both are good. I'd go with ILT, the light one.
All right.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
So I'm just clarifying, Ryan. So what you said is ILT, you're making a motion for the limited light industrial?
Correct.
Correct, okay.
Do we have a public comment from Miguel?
Miguel is not on the meeting today.
Oh, but he is, he is, I can see him in there.
Oh, there he is.
Yep. Thank you, Bonnie.
Miguel, do you have anything to add? You can unmute.
Yeah, thank you. I just live a block away there on Craig Court, or Craig, well, actually, it says Craig Street, but where the cul-de-sac is Craig Court. And I would strongly, well, you have the motion going now, strongly recommend this change because we're not going to get any more commercial there. And these people don't present a lot of traffic. So I would highly recommend go ahead with this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. Is there a second to the motion?
This is Bonnie. I can second to ILT.
All right, we need a roll call then.
Okay. Jan Clark-Kretz,
Aye.
Bonnie Linden,
Yes.
Ryan DiMartini,
Yes.
Scott Toussaint,
Scott, did you have a vote?
Yes, I voted aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, Scott, your internet appears to be jerky. You might benefit from killing your video. Just a thought.
And
that's everybody. Thank you.
Carol, John Cunnington entered the meeting at 3:13.
Oh, okay. Well, then I can go ahead and do a vote for him.
Yes.
John.
I think he said aye.
Yeah,
via
he
chat.
responded aye in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to number 4, 3760 Bankhead Road. I actually have a PDF. Thank you, Lucy. That was brilliant. So I don't have to fight the PowerPoint to get to where we're going. So here's number 4 on Bankhead Road. And is this also the one where we have a map that talks about, we had covered these? Hang on. A moment, please. Christy put together a response that we received from all of the property owner information that we sent out. And I thought I had the maps.
This is not one where they responded.
Okay, well then I can look for this while we're doing discussion then. So here's number 4. We put up the text of the request. Oops. Number 4 on Bankhead. I'll make that larger in just a second. Is that legible?
Yes.
We'd like to go from residential estate to rural residential, split into a 1 acre parcel.
So one thing, if you look back at the map, Mark, the RR, so it's currently RE, and when you go to RR, it's several parcels away to be contiguous.
Mm-hmm.
So when we address things like that, like let's say the committee says, yeah, you know, we think that's a good idea. We would have to contact the other owners between number 4 and the RR district to get them to concur with that and change that whole area. It just can't be spot designated. Is that correct?
It all depends on how the town wants to go. There's no prohibition against it. It's just bad form. There's nothing in state law that would prohibit you from changing the designation. For example, this BP could be considered spot, even though it's larger. It's just bad form. And I think that, you know, the town should take that into consideration. If this is the only parcel that wants to change in order to split, then, you know, that's something the town should have to figure out. If I can be so bold as to go to one of these other maps that talks about non-conforming parcels, we do have a number of non-conforming parcels in that area. Although I will remind the committee of what Gene was saying, which is that we may have inherited many of these, and it's not something the town would willingly have done. But there's no prohibition, Mary Beth, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just bad form and not something that planners do willingly.
Thank you.
All right, I'll put the text back up. I'm sorry.
And Mary Beth, when I'm looking at the responses that you've received, it looks like the owner did not respond. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But what I will let you know, Bonnie, is this particular property owner has called me once a week asking if that's been considered yet.
Okay.
So here's
She's
the
not
map.
very technological savvy, so she may or may not have even opened her mail.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the map I was referring to. I did have it open. I just wasn't smart enough to find it. So these in blue here are where we have received responses from the owners that were positive. And then in the purple are places where we received responses from property owners that were not in favor of any changes to their property. And I bring that up because there's an interesting discussion or divide along the Sierra College Boulevard roadway. But in case this helps the committee in any way, I do have this available for us to look at this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if I understand correctly, 5 and 6, did they withdraw? And again, I'm just trying to find where 4 would be close to fitting in with the RR. If 5 and 6 were requesting to be RR, it kind of begins to open things up a little bit, but it looks like they're in the process of moving. Can you fill me in on that?
All right, we'll move to 5 and 6. 5 and 6 are way up here. Are you in here? Okay.
We did not receive a withdrawal that I'm aware of. Mary Beth, did we get anything in recently?
No. And I think, Bonnie, I sent you that spreadsheet earlier, and that is the most current spreadsheet. I just don't have it. I printed it, but I don't have it in front of me.
Right. It's the very first one. It says October 7th, 2021 per owner currently in the process of selling this parcel. And so it's lined out.
Yeah, so that means if it's lined out, it means we did receive a formal request to not pursue that land use designation change.
Yeah, that's number 1 on here.
No, it's also number 5 and 6. 3561 Bankhead. Steve and Mary Davis.
Yeah, that would be number 5.
Okay.
And then site number 6 is Van and Linda Williams.
Okay.
And
So
number
help me
5,
out here. Are we, have they been withdrawn or are we still considering?
John, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wanted to make a procedural comment that since this area has had some input from citizens looking to be making some changes, when I say this area, that I would refer to the whole RE area, including, 6.5, 13.9, that we include those in some kind of a general discussion of that whole RE section as to what's going to happen there.
I think from the last discussion, I watched it again yesterday. The consensus from the group was that they really didn't want to make a lot of significant changes. And so my understanding is Mark and Anders heard that. And so that's why we're kind of just going by each individual request that's made. Is that correct?
We're going by each individual request made. I mean, we can group them and then vote, but we want to vote so that is on record what the committee's recommending rather than having questions later on about what was intended through consent. So, but there's no problem in grouping everything within that RE, having that discussion, should that area turn into RR or not? And should it partially turn into RR? So I think that's an appropriate question to look at that whole area. And I would say, John, it's probably the area north of Sierra College Boulevard rather than, because we have one of the parcels, I believe, south of Sierra College that removed their request. So it's just that area north of Sierra College Boulevard that we should be looking at.
Correct.
So that would be this area for those of you following along at home.
Jean, go ahead.
Could I ask the question again? What is the impact of the new housing laws? If something is an RR 1 acre, does that mean they would automatically get the right to split that again and make them half-acre parcels?
Yeah,
What is the impact of the new housing law on what we're doing in this area?
so that's a really good question, Jean. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, nobody knows yet. The details of how that actually happens or how that can occur were not included in the law, and people are going to have to figure that out. The law becomes effective January 1st, and for those of us that are into it, we call it SB 9. What I'm discovering in many of my rural communities is the provision of the law that requires certain actions to occur essentially prohibit them being used. Large swaths of rural areas are not allowed to use the SB 9. We also have to look at public health and safety. Can you put a well and septic on that site to serve the additional uses? So there's lots of things that need to be figured out. The short answer, Jean, is if it meets all of the criteria of the new law, then the answer is yes, they could split the property. But that same is true for any parcel in town.
Can I ask for just one clarification? Since these are recommendations from us at this point in time, and none of these parcels will in fact be changed on January 1, would anything that is comes into effect be based on what they were prior to the law?
No.
Okay. Because if it's not changed before the law, then that's the one that would be the initial site that could be brought down.
Yes, but there's nothing in the law that talks about grandfathering or what have you. And there are a lot of loose ends to that no one's explained to me, at least to my satisfaction, how they would work. Separate water and sewer hookups, separate power hookups. I mean, it's one thing to say you can split the property. It's another to go through the division of real estate to actually make that happen. And the cost associated with all of that. This is not an inexpensive thing for people to do. So there's an interesting report that I can find the link for that suggests that while everybody's excited about SB 9, it's going to have very little impact on housing in California because of the way it's designed. So I'll find that.
So I can add to that a little bit and say that under SB 9, all of our objective requirements and criteria are still in effect. So as Mark said, all of those utility hookups, you'd still have to prove up that you can provide all of those services to an additional residence that you put up or that you intend to put up on a split parcel. So broadly speaking, yes, people would be entitled to split their lots or to put up a second primary residence on their current lot. But the practical reality is that it really depends parcel by parcel, whether or not that's feasible, possible, allowed.
And there's some interesting tidbits in that law, like you have to live in one of the houses. So you can't just split it and run.
Yeah, you have to sign an affidavit that you intend for it to be your primary residence for 3 years. Parcels resulting from a split have to be at least 1,200 square feet, which in Loomis isn't going to be a big hurdle to a split. Residences have to be able to be accommodated within the building envelope with some reduced setback amounts. But there's a lot of details that will impact whether or not it's feasible on any given parcel. So we can't look at an area and say generally, yeah, everybody here could theoretically split their lot, because the practical reality of all of those utilities kind of rule that out as a likely outcome.
And the irony is each one of these parcels could have an ADU right now. There's no prohibition to that. So,
John, Ireland?
Yes, I'm looking at this from a standpoint of the existing parcels that are in this area that we're talking about. And most of them would end up being a minor lot split if it was taken to an RR, out of an RE into an RR. With that in mind, then probably you would end up getting many wells. And I think that area is pretty well taken care of by sewer because it runs down Bankhead Road. And so it should be covered. But there isn't any water as you go south, or there's a limited water as you go south of Saunders. It does go a little bit down to Del Court. One of the interesting thing though about having water that goes further south on Bankhead is it provides hydrants. And, you know, in the increasing thoughts about fire issues that we have in the state, adding to the number of homes outside of that area served by water has to be, to me, of questionable safety. It is a concern that I have. I'd love to see water come all the way down Bankhead Road with hydrants. But if we're going to increase the number of potential homes in that area without having hydrants available, we have to think about that before we would take that step. Now, if you were to draw a line north of Saunders, you have all the you have the water available there, and you have all the sewer available there. The impact would be minimal from a safety standpoint by allowing more minor lot splits in that area. So that's my comments.
Thank you, John.
And for those who currently live there, what is the roads and traffic like right now under the current situation?
Bankhead Road, at least from here, is beautiful. It's a really tiny country lane with trees that overarch it.
Where have you been?
Mark.
Well, I do live off Bankhead. Traffic level, I don't think is terribly bad. Homes tend to be a little close to the road. And I've heard that's a concern for some of the people who live right up on it. I happen to be on a driveway that extends back off of it. But the traffic flow right now doesn't seem to be too bad.
Do you think that there's enough capacity if it were changed from RE to RR to double the potential amount of people living there? And then again, that's not even factoring the SB9 where some may possibly split their lots additionally.
Well, probably down the line, Bankhead's going to need to get a stoplight at Sierra College, especially as Sierra College starts getting much more impacted by what's going on outside of our city. So, you know, with that said, it probably could handle it, although I'm sure residents who are right up on the street wouldn't be particularly fond of it.
Comment in the chat from member John Cunnington. He says there is a lot of through traffic between Sierra College and King. And then Miguel has his hand up. Go ahead, Miguel.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I go down that, excuse me, that road about once a week. Number one, talking about the road, I think there's 3 places where there's speed bumps and the condition of the road is really quite poor. So it's not a really good road. Secondly, there's a mix of houses and lot sizes as you go down it. I think there's about 3 new homes. Now this is back at Sierra College. There's about 3 new homes that are being built there. And I think, and your map probably shows, before the town was formed, there were some houses built on lots smaller than, was it 4.6? So you've got a mix of housing in there. The house on the corner of King and Humphrey, is it Humphrey? Yeah. That's really 2 houses. They have quite a lot of housing on that one corner. So getting down to the point is if everybody can make them 1 acre lots, it's going to degrade the value of some of the people that just have built the new homes in there because they're building them on the 4.6 lots. And I think that I would want to keep the current zoning, even though there's some smaller lots in there from the past history, but to take a big swatch in there and make it all 1 acre. If you go down Rockland Road, you see, I forget the name of the subdivision, but they're 1 acre lots in there. And by the time you put in the driveway and some landscaping in the front and the house, it doesn't look rural at all. I mean, it's house and landscaping and with the bigger houses. So in order to maintain the character of that area, I would not recommend rezoning that property down smaller. Thank you.
And then Miguel, I just wanted to clarify, you said those new houses were on 4.6 and yet this is all mostly RE, which is 2.3.
Okay, then they're 2.3. Sorry. They're bigger lots. I wouldn't go down below 2.3 then.
Okay, thank you. We have a member of the public that wishes to speak.
Yes, my name is Dave Daly. I live at 3815 Delmar Avenue. I'm totally against rezoning any of these lots to be 1 acre parcels. I think it will set a precedence in the future of anybody that has 2 acres that move up here who want to shove another house on their lot, and it's going to ruin the whole atmosphere of Loomis. We need to stick to our Loomis town council that says Loomis is a small town. It isn't a small town if you start building houses on 1 acre lots. 1 acre lots are way too small for Loomis. It isn't the right move. Thank you.
All right, committee members, anybody else have a comment or concern? We are on item number 4, map site 4.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say I concur with the last couple comments, just that, and I've said this previously, that I'm just, certainly there are exceptions to every rule, but as a rule, I don't like the idea of downsizing the lots in this area.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Miguel, can I ask you a question, please? If you can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. So one of these in this area, the area shown as number 13, was suggested by you to go to smaller parcels. So based on your last discussion, you don't think that's appropriate at this time?
Where's 13 that I said should go to a smaller parcel?
It was this area, right, that Mark's showing there.
Wow, I must have had too many martinis before I came to the meeting. I really don't recall. What I was talking about actually was down.
I think you meant down.
Around Saunders.
Right against Sierra College is what.
Yeah. So no, if I said that, then I apologize.
Yeah, it was, the comment that you submitted was rezone the land off Saunders to smaller parcels.
Now that's down on Saunders. As you come on Webb and you make the turn on Webb, wherever that is, there's a lot of acreage in there that's just acreage. And it would, okay. Yeah, I said that would be more appropriate to be smaller parcels if we're looking for more opportunity to grow. But since we added 300 people in 10 years, which is a lot more than the 8 that we added 10 years before, we're having a real boom on population.
Okay, so let's go back to any other comments, and we are focusing right now on map site number 4. Is there anybody on the committee that would like to make a motion to either accept this or not accept this?
Can I raise a quick question first?
Absolutely.
Can we just get clarification? And I'm probably just being obtuse, but if we approve, or disapprove the request, can somebody just dumb it down and tell me what that really is going to mean in practice?
So the subcommittee will be recommending to the full land use committee, who will then be able to decide whether they agree with your recommendation or not. And then that in turn will be sent to the full planning commission. And then the planning commission would make their recommendation to town council. So you're the very beginning of the train, if you will. The final decision will be made by the town council. And at some point, I'm guessing the property owner will have the ability to petition both the planning commission and the town council on the decision.
And would it, so I guess, so in a sense, we would be, our voice as the subcommittee would be saying, I mean, yes, there's a background that the owner requested it, but it's almost, I guess what's a little odd to me is I don't think any of us would have gone out of our way to just say, oh, that area represented by the square with the 4 in it on the map, we think that would be, we'd like to recommend rezoning that. I don't think anyone would just go out of their way to make that recommendation. So I guess, is there, I don't know, it just feels to me like something, and maybe I'm just giving my comment, my 2 cents here, but it seems to me like something that makes a lot more sense as like a variance request from an individual owner than something that we as a committee would recommend that the town adopt.
Yeah, that's not possible. You can't vary for the parcel size. So the at the top of the regulatory pyramid is the general plan. And it establishes the standards by which the zoning code would then be adopted. So in order for parcel number 4 to go to a smaller lot size, we would have to change the land use designation in order to allow the zoning to ultimately be changed for this site, and then allow the property owner to implement that zoning. A lot more steps involved, but it has to start somewhere. And the process we have here in opening up the general plan for consideration is to take a look at these. And so at a certain level, Scott, it's a gut check. Does this make sense to the subcommittee? And if it doesn't, then we don't recommend it to the main committee and let the process fall it out. If it makes sense, like I thought what John said about, water above Saunders or along Saunders made a great deal of sense to me. I thought, well, that'd make an interesting place to draw a line if that's what the committee wanted to do. But it's really a gut check. This is what planners do every day. And I know it's painful, but we often have to look at it and go, does this make sense? And that's really the litmus test here. Does it make sense? The details will work themselves out. If it makes sense, we'll proceed on. And if it doesn't, then that recommendation gets made to the main committee. So that's really what it is, Scott, is a gut check.
Okay, appreciate that, Mark. So I guess, but let me, if I can just ask one final question.
Hold on, we have a train. And we want to hear what you have to say.
It must be Loomis you're in.
I love it.
So I guess I'd be one
Nancy, take these guys.
Miguel, can you, we'll mute you. Sorry, Miguel. Thank you. All right, Scott, go ahead.
So Mark, your explanation was super helpful. So is so I guess there are alternatives available to an individual parcel owner, such as a minor subdivision, or well, I guess that might be, would that, if the owner of this lot, number 4, wanted to create 2 parcels out of their 1 parcel, or whatever, 1 acre parcels out of their existing parcel, that opportunity would still be available to them on a subdivision basis, or not?
Not if it's not consistent with the underlying zoning, holding SB 9 in abeyance for now.
Right,
That has changed it, but right now, since it's not January 1st, if the parcels that were created by the division are not consistent with the zoning, then the town cannot approve the sites.
And is there any other recourse available to the owner for rezoning their parcel other than, like, could they go for a general plan amendment as an individual owner?
Thankfully, you can still petition your government in this country. So they could, in fact, petition to do this on their own. Not to be flippant about it, but at this point, it's a freebie. If they can get through the process, it's free. If they later want to petition, then they have to pay all of the application fees and all of the process to go for it. And then we would have a conversation at the town level of whether it's an appropriate use.
And I'd like to add also that there are only 4 general plan amendments allowed a year.
Got it.
That's correct. That is correct.
Okay. Super.
Another matter interesting with this parcel is they're on well, but they have sewer service. So in the assessment area of this, it says the lot is sized for RE and is served by sewer but not water. In that case, the water, they would have to run from wherever that water line ends to provide water to this site to continue development of any sort. Adding another layer into difficulties when you get out in those kind of areas where the parcels are bigger. 2.3 allows for sewer and septic and wells, but once you go to a 1 acre parcel, then the water agency requires you connect.
Okay. Well, I guess, yeah, that's interesting. Well, I'll just, I don't want to monopolize time. So, I'll just kind of try and summarize and say that, yeah, I think there's some development hurdles there, but even in addition to that, I think our task is to serve the big picture. And to me, I'd love to honor every owner's request, but to me, it seems like an individual parcel being rezoned this way, and in fact, if they were all to be rezoned this way, I would also disagree. But I don't agree with the idea of rezoning this parcel.
And Scott, would you like that to be a motion?
If no one else has any comments, I'd be happy to turn that into a motion.
Okay.
I have a comment in the chat from John Cunnington. I don't think it makes sense to change the land use zoning designation given water challenges, public sentiment, etc.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
This is Bonnie, I second.
All right, may we have roll call, please?
Yes, and I'm just clarifying, your motion is to deny the request to rezone the property, Scott?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, let me find my names.
Not to be pedantic, but to redesignate the land use designation, not the zoning.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Jan Clark-Kretz,
Aye.
Bonnie London,
Yes.
Ryan DeMartini,
Yes.
Scott Toussaint,
Aye.
John Cunnington.
In the chat, it's an A.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, the next item, let me get back up to my PowerPoint. That was number 4. This is number 5. We're still in the same region. So we have 5 and 6 are in the same region. So I'll pull up the map again so you can see it. So this is 5 and this is 6, although it's kind of interesting. And let me pull up the text so you have a chance to look at that.
Mary Beth, can you clarify though, was 5 withdrawn?
You have the most current list that I sent you this afternoon. Is it still shown on there, or is it crossed?
It's crossed out.
Okay, so number 5 is gone.
Wow, cool.
The
So
number
now we're
five,
checking-
is that the 3861?
What was that? Can you
What was the
repeat?
address on that number 5?
3561.
Okay.
And Bonnie, that's number 2 on that spreadsheet. Row 2.
It's number 1. It's the first one at the top.
Yeah, okay. So your version is more current than mine.
Okay.
So should we go right to number 6?
Yes, please.
Please.
Now, I'm confused here, so bear with me. This says 6 includes 5. So
And
is 5 truly out? And so we have this odd little L shape here?
6
Or-
is suggested by the person who suggested 5.
Got it.
Or was
Got it.
coordinated with that. So 5 involves 2 parcels, and they wanted to change it so that they could do kind of a lot line adjustment.
Mhm.
And then 6 is recommended by one of those owners.
So it says the change was requested by the property owner. Is that not true?
Yes, so they were requesting this change, which is the area of number 5, but then the request also included the area around that. So that's what number 6 is.
Still
So-
kind of confused.
So they requested
guess-
a change on their property, but also the surrounding properties.
So if they've withdrawn their request, does it make logical sense to withdraw this one too then?
It's not the same person. So number 5 was requested by Stephen Mary Davis, and number 6 by Van and Linda Williams.
Okay.
And is Van and Linda Williams the owners?
I believe they're the other owner that is connected to Site 5.
5.
So again, I'm just want to clarify, does Van and Linda Williams own this particular parcel that we're talking about?
That's the 5150?
Yes.
Yes, they do own 50. They own 5150. The Davises own the other one.
Right.
And the Davis property is in fact up for sale right now, so.
And Bonnie, can you confirm on that spreadsheet that this one is still active for 5150 King?
Let me take a look. 5150 King. It's green. It does
Okay.
not look like they responded though. Is that right?
Yeah, if it's green, they did respond.
Okay. There's no comment on it.
Oh, okay. The far right-hand column doesn't have a comment?
Nope.
Okay. It sounds like my file got corrupted along the way somewhere, but I can work that out later. If it's green, that tells me that the property owner replied to my letter and they still want to pursue site number 6.
Okay, so
In this case, site number 6 becomes sort of a suggestion because they're talking about other people's parcels as well.
Right. But it does also say, please consider extending the RR to support the needs of the landowners. If this is not acceptable, then we ask that you rezone the parcels with the address at 5150 and 3561 specifically.
Beth, you may unmute.
I was actually just going to say exactly what Christy said. That number 6 on the map is showing like a dozen parcels, and the property owners, it sounds like only owns one of those. And I'm not sure exactly which parcel number that is. I'm assuming they're right off of King Road, but I have no idea. I didn't look at an APN map.
It is. It's the area right under that number 5.
So it's the little tiny parcel that where the 6 is actually placed.
Well, there's 2 6s, so you'll see that's kind of covering that entire area, but it's actually, so 6 kind of encompasses 5. Think of it that way. And this parcel is the parcel that's directly under number 5. The actual number, not the outline, but the number.
Oh, so it's inside of the number 5 outline.
Yes.
So all of number 6's outlines on this map are by a suggestion by a non-property owner.
Well, they own one of the properties, and that's the one that is within that the number 5 is located on.
This one here?
Yes. Yes, that triangle.
That number 5 is 5150 King. Just underneath number 5, that's hooked into that little L shape, is the 3561. A part of that L. That's the long part of the L is the Davis property. The little square where the number 5 is actually located on, that is 5150, and that's owned by the Williams.
Did residents respond? Because did a postcard go out? Because I mean, we're talking, there's quite a few parcels that would be affected by that. Is that correct? I mean, I see all those little lines.
Mark, could you pull up the map that shows the undersized parcels in that area?
You bet.
Thank you.
Ah. Why are you fighting me? PowerPoint, you my demon today. All right.
And I have a public comment coming forward.
I got a question. This is Dave Daly again. I'm reading this article on number 6, and apparently they want to separate their 2.3 piece of land so a family member could build a house on there so mom and dad's not forced to be able to move out of the house at their elderly age. Is there a way that we could have something in our town of Loomis to where if a family member does want to move on their piece of property, that would be okay to do since it's kept inside the family? And if so, I think that should be grandfathered in as long as a family member is living there and mom and dad is still living there, so mom and dad's not forced to an elderly home.
That's actually
That's the sort of thing that ADUs would cover typically. And another approach to that will be starting January 1st with SB 9. There are affordances for that sort of arrangement as well.
Miguel?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, the question was just answered. They can build a granny flat on that property right now up to 1,200 square feet. So if they wanted to, do that, it's correct. Am I correct? They could do it right now.
That's correct. And I think, just based on people I've talked to, some of their goals are that, their kids and their families can have a piece of property to build their own home on and be close to their mom and dad's, and not be tied to mom and dad's house, mom and dad's second dwelling unit, that kind of thing. So that seems to me to be the basis for several of the conversations I've had, is that independence of the kids.
So getting back to the discussion here and what Scott brought up earlier, this is one of those areas where you have
Avery, you ready?
larger lots here, and then you do have this incursion of RE that goes all the way up to King Road. So from a planning perspective, this looks like an area that might be eligible for change if the committee wanted to go there. Add in John's comments about water being there, and that all adds into, if this is something that the town wanted to see, this would be one of those sort of low-hanging fruit areas. Just pointing out that kind of builds on, when we look at that, we look at the surrounding uses, we look at a possible hard line in Saunders in terms of providing water, and you might have some capability there if that's something you wanted to do.
Yeah, I completely agree, but the fact that one of the owner's requests looks like it was withdrawn. And then doesn't look like on the spreadsheet that a lot of the neighbors have responded. I think that more outreach would be needed in order to find out how that area felt about it, how the landowners felt.
So based on committee's recommendation, I would think that if you designated a certain area, let's say from King to Saunders, all parcels east and west, north and south, then we would reach out to those property owners and advise them that the committee made that recommendation, and then let them carry that forward as it goes through the planning commission and up to town council for consideration. So grouping one area as a logical choice for that to happen.
Looks like Jean has her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Jean.
First, a comment on water. If there is not piped water available, I'm remembering the 7-lot subdivision at Bankhead and Sierra College Boulevard. And the problem they had down there was getting sufficient wells for even those 7, the 7th lot there. So well water in that area may not be all that sufficient to handle a whole lot more if there isn't piped water available. And I've just forgotten what my second comment was. It was if this committee makes a recommendation, say to do a certain area, say above Saunders, then would they do both sides of Saunders or just the one side? It looks like from the map, it's already smaller on the north side, but rather than the people having to wait until it goes to the planning commission, could they then bring this to the general land use committee first? If they haven't been notified for now.
That's correct, because this committee is a subcommittee. Your recommendations are going up to the umbrella land use committee. So that would be another round of discussion at that level. You're correct.
Does that answer your question, Jean?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments, questions from the committee?
I have a quick comment.
Go for it.
Just a general comment. I mean, I'd love to grant everyone's request. It'd be wonderful, but I just don't. I don't see the town of Loomis as the residents of the town of Loomis being particularly interested in greater density as a rule of thumb. So, I don't really see a particular compelling need here to grant a request for downsizing the parcel size maximum or minimum. So, I would be against this.
And then Scott, would that be a motion on your part, or it looks like we have another public comment, so hold that for a moment.
Sure.
Is that me? Is that me, Jean? Yes. My comment is also we need to also remember that once we let's see, which way would it go? When we create the ability for more parcels, that's what, up zoning, then we cannot go back and say this isn't working. We can't go back and down zone it without creating an equal amount of upzoning someplace else. So that's just a factor we need to be aware of. When we create smaller parcels, we give that, we can't undo that very easily.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
all.
And then Ryan DiMartini.
Yeah, if we were to go ahead and change that land usage to the RR, I think that space does make sense, butts up to everything else. I don't know if we'd want to change the entire 6 line, that whole box. But I do understand where they're coming from in regards to people in Loomis slowly aging out of their location, but wanting to still remain a member of the community without having to move. Yeah, so I'd say I wouldn't be opposed to this happening. I would just cut it off basically at the edge of 5 personally.
You'd cut it off where?
The line for 5.
Oh, okay.
Along here?
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Ryan, I'm driving, so I can't really see, but do you mean just the first box on the top box of number 6?
Yeah, so instead of, yeah, just that first section of 6, then 5 and 6, or just 5 and the small 6, but not taking it all the way into what's already, just making it a nice clean cut on that property line.
Right. I think 5 withdrew, so it's kind of 6 and then a little space and then 6 again. But it sounds like that bottom 6 was recommendations, not the landowners.
Yeah.
The landowners was the top 6. Is that correct?
I believe that was the case. And then going back to what I think Mary Beth said is that if we do put it out there, then it's up to the landowners to come back and go, yeah, we don't want this. And then go from there. Just thought.
So I just want to confirm though that your box number 6 is, and you said it's the box number 6 and part of 5. Is that right? That are the specific 5150? Where's 5150 King Road?
I believe it's the small box 6.
Can somebody confirm that?
So
King Road.
Ryan, are you looking at what would be those 7 parcels? That is the straight line of RE that is sectioned right in between the RR on both the left and the right side?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah, right there.
So because it's completely surrounded by RE already,
Exactly.
making a clean line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
So we already did not approve 5. Is that right?
I don't think we ever considered.
Yeah, 5 was withdrawn.
So then that would make this just 6 and to the right of 5?
That would be ill-advised. I would not split them that way. I would have it a continuous, as was brought up.
Straight line.
Yep.
Including 5.
And Carol, can you clarify that the requester of 6 is one of the parcel owners of what is in 5? Or where does who is the property owner of request number 6?
Okay, request number 6 is, where's the list? The request number 6 it looks like they're asking for everything, including their number 5, which leads me to believe if we look at the spreadsheet, is probably the Williams.
Yes.
Okay, so the Williams own 5150, which is right where the box of number 5 is. And then the Williams on a separate request then, right, said, hey, why don't we do all the ones around me? And that's where it come up with that big old swath that has the, in parentheses, number 5, correct?
It's part of their request is their 5150, which is that upper part of 5, plus everything around them. So that whole area between Saunders, King, and Bankhead, that is currently RE.
Correct. And their request was precipitated by the fact that they were looking to do a lot line adjustment to gain more acreage to do some things that they wanted to do on theirs. And the issue that came into effect for them is 3561, which is owned by the Davis family. That portion of their property that is right under 5150, right, you know, like it just extends underneath them, is an area of environmentally protected area that number that the Davises cannot build on right now anyway. So
Okay.
that's just a side note.
All right, so going back to any other comments? Oh, there's somebody has their hand up, maybe?
Yes, Jean.
Go ahead, Jean.
A question to Carol. So is there enough in the Davis's property that there could be a lot line adjustment to give the Williams enough to do whatever it was?
Yes, it is, because their lot is almost bigger than 2.3 acres, and they have plenty to offer if that's what they wanted. And like I said, that property is up for sale right now because I've had 5 people in this week looking for information on it. So the Davis property is.
They have 3.6 acres.
Yes.
So
So they do have an acre. They have an acre to spare.
And potentially that would handle the Williams question.
Correct.
So potentially the
works.
Williams could get what they want without getting rezoned.
Correct.
I like that.
You too.
Why don't you come up here, Dave?
Dave Daly again. If the law is going to change January 1st on rezoning so these people could build the extra a family home, why don't we just wait till January 1st instead of rezoning the property? Because you said after January 1st, there's going to be a new law saying that they're going to be able to build an extra house on their property. So why don't we just not rezone this property and then just wait till January 1st?
Okay, committee.
So if we could go back to the motion by Scott for no recommendation.
I'm not sure if he actually did a motion, but wondered if.
I'll move to not grant the request in land use, the change in land use designation.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? And the second came from John Cunnington. Can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Jan Clark Petz,
Aye.
Bonnie London,
Yes.
Ryan DeMartini,
Aye.
Scott Toussaint,
Aye.
John Cunnington. I
And
got your eye.
he's an aye. All right, let's move to map site number 9.
Yep. And I don't really know how else to say that, but since we just did that, this conversation should be a little shorter for 9, which is here, and then ultimately for 13 along Saunders.
Okay.
So let me pull up I'll leave the map there so people can see where it is. And then pull up the first 9 and then.
Beth, you may unmute.
Here we go.
I just want to say that number 13, I thought I heard one of these committee members maybe brought it up, but it wasn't even regarding that area on the map. It was over more towards the right-hand side. So I think that it doesn't really make a lot of sense in that area. They were talking about more on Saunders next to Webb and not Saunders next to Bankhead.
Yes, I recollect that too, from Miguel. And does he have a question?
Yeah, Miguel, go ahead. Uh-oh. Unmute, Miguel.
I think you answered my question. I wasn't sure which 6 we were talking about. There's a 6 at the corner of King and Bankhead, and then there's a 6 below that. So we're talking about the 6 below it, correct?
No, we're moving on. We moved on and we did not. Yeah,
All
we
right,
did not.
past
We
that
didn't.
one. And
Yeah,
you're
we're
down
on.
to Saunders, and that's what I was talking about, was that, I guess there's water on Saunders. I've never seen a well. and to maybe look at if there's a need for additional housing, to look at rezoning that property along Saunders. But if there's not, then just leave it the way it is.
So Miguel, you were thinking, can you see the map, Miguel?
Yes.
And right now, I think we have this perhaps in the wrong place. And maybe you meant, Webb's over here, maybe this portion of Saunders, as opposed to the portion on the Bankhead side. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Where the church is, there's a big empty field, and then
Right here. Okay.
And then there was a request one time. There's 5 houses along one of those lanes that go back there where the guys were growing pot.
Okay.
And right across from those houses, there's a big empty field. And so it was just my thought, well, what is the zoning there on Saunders? You're back on Bankhead.
The land use designation is RR along most of Saunders, and RM for the stuff as you move closer to the railroad tracks.
Okay.
And the RM would be the church and the vacant parcel across from it.
Okay. Well, then it's fine. I would drive down there, as I say, and I see this empty land back there where the 4 houses are, and there's, I don't know, 5-10 acres back there, and thinking if somebody wanted to put in a 1 acre or even denser subdivision, if we needed it, then that would be fine. But otherwise, just leave it the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's go back. We're on site number 9 right now, which looks like somewhat of the same sort of request.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. 2.3 RP.
Okay. Anybody on our committee have any comments? Anybody out in the public? If there are no comments, is there a motion to approve or not?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, since you kept all the properties the way they are, I would strongly recommend keeping this one the way it is too. Thanks.
Thank you, Miguel. Committee members, anybody wishing to throw a motion out on this request?
I move to leave it the way it is, as in no, not to approve or no recommendation, whichever is the easiest way.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second? I will second it. Can we have a roll call, please?
Was that you Jan, you did that?
I did that, yes.
Okay.
I seconded
All right,
Ryan.
I just wanted to make sure. Okay. Jan Clark-Kretz,
Aye.
Bonnie London,
Yes.
Ryan DiMartini,
Yes.
Scott Toussaint,
Aye.
John Cunnington.
In the chat, it's an
I
aye.
got it.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to map site number 10. And do I understand that this has been withdrawn?
Number 10 came forward from a non-property owner. Bonnie, if you could, it's that area on the map. Let's find out where it is.
It parallels Sierra College on both sides, going from one end of town essentially to the other, from the railroad tracks to Taylor Road, essentially to the town limits.
So the only one we had that happened along that area, based on the grouping of number 10 and all of those parcels, the listing of withdrawn or accepted is included on Bonnie's spreadsheet. And right where the number 10 is, there's a very long parcel. That one, yeah, the blue one on the yes/no list. That property owner, although he didn't originally make that request, based on the certified letter received, he would like to pursue that. So if we don't do the whole area of 10, this one would be one that could be considered for recommendation by the committee.
So are you saying that that is included in 10?
Yes.
It'll come up again as site 22.
Okay.
So it does have its own.
Yes.
Okay, so I think for just ease and understanding, it shouldn't be part of 10. Is that right?
It's part of 10 only because it touches on that 10, but we can call it 22 and leave it out of the discussion for number 10.
Right, because I thought I had heard that this site number 10 was withdrawn by the original person who suggested it.
Not specifically.
Hi, so this is Bonnie. Yes, so I went back and listened to the last meeting, and Matt Fox, who made the request, in the meeting, it was a little nebulous in that he said, you know, it doesn't make sense to go ahead and change this entire area, and he listed some reasons why. I had emailed him before I'd listened to the meeting again, because my takeaway was that he had withdrawn his request. Via email, he said that yes, that was correct, and he said to just go ahead and take it out, or he's fine with us taking it out. But specifically, was there technically a withdrawal request to the town? No, that didn't happen. But he's not the owner. Again, his intent was that it doesn't make sense to go ahead and just carte blanche change the entire area.
Thank you, Bonnie. Anybody committee-wise have any questions? And any members of the public have anything they'd like to add? And if not, will the committee then perhaps provide a motion to either accept or decline?
This is Bonnie. I'll move to not make any change recommendations to number 10.
Thank you, Bonnie. Is there a second?
Second.
Ryan seconds. Roll call, please.
Yes, Jan Clark-Kretz,
Aye.
Bonnie London,
Yes.
Ryan DeMartini,
Aye.
Scott Chasant,
Aye.
and John Cunnington.
John is probably in the chat.
Yep,
Yep.
there it
Okay, so item number 10 has been decided not to recommend, and now we're going to move on to item number 13.
Okay, one question. So that whole section that you highlighted.
So working from,
Hey, hang on just a second, Mark.
Which included one of our properties.
Oh, okay.
So you're saying 10 is no longer.
It was not approved.
Somebody sent in something and added their property without them knowing it. That's why they're here to tell you.
Okay.
They're not changing their property and that
No.
that's why she stood up there.
Okay, well, go ahead and please say your name and.
I've got the voice.
Oh, okay.
But he's gonna. But I'd like to say a few words. I'm surprised most of the people that border the Sierra College and Del Mar are not here, but hopefully they returned their information sheets.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a little spill. I own 2 pieces of property, one on Sierra, the other one on Del Mar. And since I've got this voice problem, I've worked up a little thing that I'm going to have Dave read for me.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, this is Dave Daly, and I'm speaking for the lady that lives up the street from me. This is a sad day in Loomis. If we start this high density in Loomis, we own 2 parcels on Sierra College and Del Mar Avenue. This land is in our family for almost 100 years. I was born on this property and attended all the local schools and grew up in a small town where you could run in your small family-owned stores and an ice cream cone and an ice cream bar. And they would add it to your family tab, even without asking your family name. I realize things need to change, but the people of Loomis need to pay attention. Don't allow this to move into our town like a bulldozer. Any changes to our air, our beautiful countryside, where you could raise your animals and grow your own food. Wake up and speak out. Don't allow these builders to build low, high, and medium density in Loomis. Or you could wake up with all these high-rise buildings looking down in your home and somebody looking inside your window. We are here today speaking out loud and clear. We did not put our parcel on this list. Somebody else put this lady's parcel on this list to get rezoned without her family even knowing it, and are extremely offended that somebody thought that they could just add their parcel on this list without the property owner even knowing about it. Also, it is more alarming that these committees accepted it and allowed it without even contacting the people that own the property. We do not want to be San Francisco or Sacramento or even our neighbors in Rockland. We want to keep it small. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we are on site number 13, which I believe has been moved.
Yes, based on Miguel's input, it sounds like 13 really should be here on the map.
Okay.
And I can bring up the, to be clear for the property owner who just spoke, we should probably reiterate that the subcommittee decided not to make any changes.
No changes.
We wanted to read that before.
Yes, they, I think it just was a timing issue, and it felt it important that they read it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure they understood what the subcommittee actually did, which was not.
I think they understand. They were going to read it, so they came all the way down here and wanted to make sure that their voices were heard.
This is the write-up for number 13. And Miguel's here, so perhaps, I think he's already said his piece, but maybe he should speak up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I was under the impression there was going to be a demand for a lot more housing in Loomis. And looking at where we might put some of it, I felt this property on Saunders had some potential. But now that I see most of the committee members want to maintain the role and small nature of Loomis, I want to withdraw my idea of putting an addition, changing the zoning on Saunders.
Thank you, Miguel. So since it's withdrawn, I'd like to just cross it off and move on.
If I could share a chat from John Cunnington, and that would be to you guys. He says the subcommittee heard your heartfelt expression.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so 13 is now gone. 14.
So 14, and I'll find that on the map here. It's on Del Mar, which is over here. And I'll bring up the text so that people can read that. a request is to go to 1 acre minimums, rural residential in that area. And since they make a statement about lot sizes, I will pull up the lot size map that we have just so the subcommittee has that information. So this is the area that they're talking about. And honestly, looking at this map, I'm having a hard time reconciling their statement. It says 69% of the existing parcels do not conform, but the area that we're being asked to consider is this area right here, and it doesn't appear to me like there are a lot of small parcels in that area. So I don't know which area the text is referring to.
Okay, and then is there a staff recommendation on this request?
We have a public member wishing to speak.
Can we know what the staff recommendation is first?
Yeah, staff recommendation, this particular parcel property is associated with Green Business Park Loomis, a application received from BEM. And since we have an application on file for a general plan amendment rezone, staff would recommend that follow its own process.
These are outside.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong parcels?
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
These are just outside. So number 19 is the Green Business Park parcels. 14, 20, and 18 are outside.
Okay. So staff's recommendation would be to make no change because it wouldn't be contiguous with the remaining RA zone. I know that the city of Rockland Industrial Park is down below that. But we can't, just because Rockland has industrial, I wouldn't feel comfortable changing that to industrial in that area along Delmore.
Okay, and it looks like we have some public comment. And before we do that, is there anybody on the committee that has any comments? And Christy, did you have something?
Yeah, just to clarify, the request is to change to RE, from RA to RE. But as Mary Beth mentioned, this would create a pocket of RE where there's no RE surrounding it.
Okay, anybody on the committee have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I do.
I'm sorry, who is that?
It's me, Scott.
Okay, Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say, full disclosure, I basically live right there. I'm one parcel away from this area, and so I'm obviously, for personal reasons, I'm very much against this. But that's not my role, is to not represent my own interests. The interests that I'm supposed to represent is just the town in general. And I completely agree with what the staff is saying, that it's just the downsizing to this degree, to almost any degree, I would say, but certainly to this degree, I would say is not what the people of Loomis want in any way, shape, or form. I'm sorry. I'd love to grant the request of property owners, but I just think it would be not at all what the town wants.
Thank you. Anybody else on the committee? And if not, then public comment.
Mike
I have
Fournier.
a comment.
Okay.
You'll be next, Miguel. Mike
Thank
Fournier.
you.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon. The process is a little bit complex because we're looking at 18, 19, 20, maybe 14. The bottom line is, and I know right now we're talking about 14, but as the owner of all those parcels, I'd like to really address what we were trying to achieve. And if we eliminate the Green Business Park Loomis application, what we've done is we've looked at that area that is currently RA. And if you very specifically look at the map where the numbers 20, 18, and 19 are that are currently in the RA category. What our desire is if we take the convoluted part out, is that this RA becomes an RE. And the justification for that are twofold. The first one is there's 18 parcels bordering 20, 18, and 19. Out of those 18 parcels, only 5 are compliant. So maybe they could pull up the non-compliant parcels map, so people can actually see how many parcels are not compliant. So to the north, it's non-compliant. To the south, there's the 2.3 acre. All the parcels bordering Antelope Creek are not compliant. The little sliver, now out of those 5 parcels that are actually compliant, I own 2 of them, and I know that one of the owner of the other parcel is in support of it. So now we have 18 parcels, and yet that out of them, 16 are either non-compliant or in agreement with the change. We are positioned to take sewers from Rockland all the way to Sierra College, take water from the bottom corner at Rockland and the Rockland border in Del Mar, all the way to Sierra College, where there has been problems, therefore improving safety. And we have the necessary easement south of number 18. If we can go back to the other map. South of number 20, we have sewer that we would be able to take northward. So basically, if this was to become an RE with 20, 18, and 19, it would have sewer, water, and gas. And when you look at the overall shape, it's adjacent to the RE portion. And you might have opposition, no doubt, of people living north, but I can tell you that obviously I'm not going to oppose myself on the parcels that I've got on the east side, and neither are my neighbor to the south going to oppose it. So I do believe it should be considered. And I do believe that because it has sewer, water, and gas, it is a genuine request. And I'm asking for RE. We're not really asking for anything else. And it will make a fantastic place for people to have 2.3 acres, which was mentioned a little bit earlier today as a nice piece of land, which it is. 4.6 acre is a little bit big for people that don't necessarily always take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have somebody on the Zoom that wanted to say something.
Yeah, and if I could just take a moment, there's a person in the chat on this particular area, and the name is Des, and this is a major thoroughfare for wildlife and riparian habitat. 1 acre parcels on Antelope Creek is too small. The owner of the other parcel can speak for themselves rather than have Mr. Fournier speak for them. He has purchased several parcels of land and wants to cut up limited supply of RA land in Loomis and make little boxes everywhere.
Thank you. And we do have a member of the public that wishes to speak.
Yes, this is Dave Daly. I live on Del Mar Avenue, right up the street from this project that he wants to do. This project is so bad for the neighborhood, and I'm going to tell you like 10 different reasons why. First reason why, this guy Michael Fournier has already devalued the whole property of Del Mar Avenue the day he took all the water from Dean's Ranch and moved it up to his winery up in Newcastle, okay? Number 2, the only reason why he could do these 2.3 acres is because he made a deal with Rockland to wire into their sewer line, because he knows if he tried to do it any other way, he doesn't have enough land to build all these houses. And when you rezone this to RE, it's going to change the whole street of Delmar Avenue on the amount of animals you could have, the kind of animals you could have, and everything else that these people that have lived there for years have came to rely on, like myself, 23-year residents. When I moved to Loomis, there was 6,260 people, and apparently we have like 400 more people in the town of Loomis in 23 years. Us, 6,251 people, have paid for Loomis for all these years. We don't need this extra housing. And nobody on Delmar Avenue likes your project, Mr. Fournier. Nobody is for your project. You are devaluing the neighborhood. You moved water from Delmar Avenue to some other project, and the land on Delmar Avenue isn't worth nothing without ditch water. And you're trying to buy your way into every other city, hooking up to their sewer lines and running water. We don't have enough water on our PCWA line to even have 23 RE units on the property that you want to put your houses on. And on parcel number 18, half of that land is in the swamp when the winter time comes. So for you to rezone all this to RE isn't in the neighborhood's best interest. The only interest it is in your pocketbook interest, because you don't live in Loomis. You're just going to build up Loomis and leave like you always do. Thank you.
We have another member of the public.
Yeah, we're the Montgomerys. We live at 3693 Delmar. It's a house that's been in the family for 100 years. Have you ever driven down Delmar Avenue on the road? It's terrible. We cannot take any more additional traffic, and it'll also impact all those people that are raising animals like we do. So we say no to this. Leave Loomis the way it is and stop building the big houses. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have some people on Zoom that have some comments to make.
Miguel, you were first.
Thank you. Looking at this long term and looking out 20 or 30 years, I would much rather see this as 2.3 acre parcels. And it could be designed with open space and a lot of beneficial things to the community. This sure would be a lot better than an industrial park. And once this, if he would go through with this, with the 2.3 and maybe require, like they did at Montserrat, a 1 acre building site and the rest open space, I think that personally, this would be a good development. Thank you.
Beth Cohen.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what I think a majority of the people have already stated, in that I don't believe this is in the interest of the town. I believe most citizens do not desire increasing density on large swaths of ag land. My understanding of residential agricultural properties, the land use designation, is that it creates a clear delineation between our town and the neighboring communities. You know, I understand Rockland adjoins us and they may allow high density neighborhoods, but it's nice to be able to drive down Sierra College and know, oh yeah, now we're in the town of Loomis. You can see that difference when you enter the town's borders. And it's mostly because we have residential agricultural properties on the outskirts of our town. So I would highly recommend maintaining the residential agricultural properties and not increasing their density, even to residential estates. And in terms of the last speaker, I don't think that the request is whether or not we're residential estates or in industrial or business park. I think the request is, do we want to maintain residential agricultural in this area, maintain residential agricultural in the outskirts of our town to make a clear delineation between our town and the high density neighboring communities or not? And I think the answer is we do want to maintain that.
Thank you. And it looks like Jesse.
Jesse.
Yes, I'd like to thank the committee members for your service, and also to my neighbors. I live at 3988 Del Mar, and I appreciate, the passion that they have for this, and the emotional arguments that given, and keeping things the way that they are. I don't like to see things change necessarily either, but that doesn't mean they're not going to change anyways. And I feel that 2.3 acre parcels in this area will bring in some nice houses. And it seems to me we're bearing the lead here, that the town of Loomis, although they have, I think reading from the budget, they have 1.32 billion in property values. By the time the county takes those revenues, the town itself only gets about 1.5 million. And so I want to commend them for using that budget wisely, but also say that even though this additional housing that's going to go into this area is not going to make or break the budget, we do have to bring in revenue in the town. We do have to, pay for our services. We do have to make sure that the school's getting enough funding. And another thing is this area over here is extremely arid. It's dry, it's brown, and like another community member said, there's not water there anymore. And I think, in order to harden our kind of fire resistance in this area, some well thought out construction, could reduce the fire risk if the roofing was right, if the siding was right. And in addition, municipal support from Rockland's not necessarily a bad thing. We get all the revenue from the property taxes by this kind of newer community in our community. And we also don't have to worry about any strain on our municipalities. So I see that as a positive. And, I think, this in the future, we might not get to decide what kind of density we put down. It's not happening yet, but the state could mandate what we do with it. And I think having some nice housing in there, having some families in there is not a bad thing. Thank you.
And Jesse, can you tell us your first and last name, please?
My name is Jesse Sinistraro. My wife and I live here. We've discussed it.
Thank you. We have other members of the public with your name, and I want to make sure that we understand. It's yours. Yes. You are you.
I'm me. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and it looks like we have a member of our committee that has his hand up. Ryan?
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something really quick. So we are talking about 14 right now, which includes 18 and 20. 14 is requesting an RR designation, rural residential, but Mike said RE. So is it RE or RR that they're actually going for?
It'll be RE. If you look at numbers 18 and 20, which arrived at the town later, those requests came in later. Those requests then supersede that first one and are for an RE designation, not RR.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I kept reading through it going, this doesn't add up. Okay. Thank you.
And we have
Mike Fournier.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just to avoid doubt, because I would feel terrible if people looked at 18 and 20 to go RE and did not feel that I would include 19, therefore creating an island. What I am proposing is potentially that this would all remain RE and that we would just move on basically and not necessarily do the business part and just have it as a 2.3 acre, take advantage of the utilities. So I just want to make sure Ryan and everybody else on the committee understands that I am not trying to create an island here. It would be all RE, 18, 19, and 20.
So before we go on, I'd like the staff to sort of round us up again. I know we are looking at item number 14. Should we be really looking at all four of these as one, since they're all interconnected? Can you please
Yeah, that at this point in time, if we could just carry this conversation forward for 18, 19, and 20 to the west of the RP zone.
So they're all related. So 14, 18, 19, and 20. And then is there some chat going on?
Yeah. From Cole, please reclassify all RE surrounding Bankhead and Saunders to RR. And then from Des, how many acres is that total? So if we take the first one, Bankhead and Saunders. Oh. So we've already discussed that area and the committee did not make a recommendation to change those RE to RRs. And then does anybody have an idea of how many acres in total for 18, 19, and 20? Mike, go ahead.
The total is 144 acres.
Thank you.
All right, committee, I'd like to roll back to you at this point. And Ryan has his hand up.
Yeah, quick question. Are we still looking for spaces to meet housing requirements? Or is that pretty much met outside of the
We're still
density?
looking for 2.2 acres of high density.
Okay, so that's still out there. Thank you.
Okay, hold on a second.
Eugene?
I was not involved. It was before I was involved in town things, but there was an RE proposed subdivision, I believe, over in that area. It was called Morning something. I think somebody else may remember more, but of course that's 20 years ago and things do change. But there had been a proposal before for RE in that area, and it was rejected then. It doesn't mean we reject it now, but that did come up in the past.
Thank you, Jean.
Mike Fournier?
The proposed subdivision in question was proposing lots significantly smaller than RE. They were all less than 1 acre. It was a much higher density proposal, just to inform the committee.
Okay, we have a member of the, oh, sorry, go ahead. Are you done, Mike? Yeah, he's done.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. No worries. We have a member of the public. Let's make a comment.
This is Dave Daly again. I'm going to go back to some of these other sites that we went through, site number 4, and all these other sites that people wanted to add an acre and had to rezone an acre. And we turned down all 5 of these little things where a private person owned the property. We rejected every rezoning. Now we got a guy who was on the planning commission putting his 2 cents in on his own project. Now we have all these people all of a sudden jumping on the Mike Fournier bandwagon to pass his property. This is a bad idea for the people that live on Delmar Avenue. Nobody on Delmar Avenue wants this rezoned except for one person. I don't understand how you could go through everybody else's thing and tell them no, 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 no for an acre, to rezone an acre. And this guy has 142 acres and you're going to rezone it and change the whole dynamics of Delmar Avenue and the people that have lived there. Shame on you guys.
Okay, committee, we have a staff. Mary Beth?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one statement that Mr. Daly made, and that referred to Mike Fournier being on the Planning Commission. That is incorrect. Mr. Fournier served on this subcommittee until which time we received an application for his project, which created a conflict of interest, and he was removed as a member of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there a chat? Looks like there's something in the chat.
Oh, Miguel.
Go ahead, Miguel.
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Poirier, because it sounds like he's saying one thing, but holding out something. Because he mentioned that he might still put part of the industrial park in. So you have an application, Mr. Poirier, for the industrial park before the town council, and it's going to cost you a lot of money to get that processed. Are you now saying that you would eliminate that if this was approved and the council approved it, and you would go ahead with 140 acres of this 2.4, or what is your real position on this?
Andreas, I'm getting a little uncomfortable here. We have an active application for the town, and we're starting to move into discussion of that. And
Yeah, we're not really here to discuss specific applications and projects, and we're not going to direct questions at members of the public. That's not the format here. That's not the item up for consideration.
Okay.
Well, I'd also like to point out we're well past 5 o'clock. It seems like we're not necessarily close to decision on these requests.
Okay. However, I would like to maybe spend just a couple minutes with the committee. Anybody on? Bonnie?
Thank you.
Who's that? Is that Bonnie?
I'm so sorry. That was me. I'm muting.
So I know Mike has his hand up.
Mike Fournier, go ahead.
Hey, I'm going to be real quick. I'm going to follow the guidelines that you're saying. Miguel, I would love to discuss what you asked. I don't think this is the forum here because I've been told that probably we shouldn't. But I would be more than pleased to discuss this with anybody that has an opinion on it. So feel free to reach out and we can discuss it. Thank you.
All right, committee members, putting together item number 14, 18, 19, and 20. Is there a motion that we might entertain to either accept or deny these?
Just as a point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
Isn't number 19, isn't that the industrial park?
Correct.
Yes.
So is that something we're still considering here?
That application has been brought forward under a separate general plan zoning amendment, specific plan type development. So it would follow its own process through the Planning Commission.
And that's, just to clarify, that's staff's recommendation that consideration on that be left for separate consideration. If the committee has strong feelings one way or the other, it could still consider that.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
I could see RE through that area, but with 19 still outstanding and the BEM and the industrial park going, I can't make a recommendation right now personally.
Okay, it looks like we do have a motion, but I wanted to just make sure that we understand it's item number 14, 18, 19, and 20.
And the motion from John Cunnington is for 14, 18, and 20.
John, did you want to omit 19? And 19, so he's including that.
Okay.
So there's a motion to deny these four. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Thank you, and we'll have a roll call, please.
Okay, so Jan Clark-Kretz,
Aye.
Bonnie London,
Yes.
Ryan DiMartini,
Aye.
Scott Toussaint,
Aye.
John Cunnington,
He usually does it on chat.
It says I.
Okay. All right. So maybe now would be a good time to stop. And when we would come back, we would be discussing map label number 15.
And for clarification, when we come back, map site 15 was submitted. It was an unknown comment received through Social Pinpoint. We did receive back a request from the landowner. I spoke to him personally, and he does not wish any change at this time. So that one was withdrawn by the property owner.
Okay, so then that leaves map site number 21, which I think there's going to be quite a bit of discussion on. So I would like to go ahead and end for this night if everybody else is in agreement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. All right, so when will we be meeting again?
So committee members, break out your calendars. Today is October 19th, a Tuesday. We could entertain something, or I'm sorry, today is Thursday, October 14th. Whoa. So we could look 2 weeks out, and that would be either Monday or a Wednesday, or then that first week in November. Any day but Thursday.
How about Tuesday, November 2nd?
That works.
Does that work for everybody? What time? 3 o'clock again? So how about Tuesday, November 2nd at 3 o'clock?
That works.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you all very, very much. This was very productive.
All right. Yes, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. It's 5:16. Thank you, everybody. Good work today. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
About my conversation with Sean. There was a fire next door to my house. I've been patient, hearing next month, August. I went in there, spoke to
Yeah,
the lady.
we'll include it. Thank you. You did good.
I want a plan. Give me a plan of what he's gonna do, because he owns two pieces of parking lot. He says, I need a plan. I'm his neighbor. I don't want my house burned down. He has over 200 cars on both pieces of property. I asked for a plan. Oh, I'm not gonna give you a plan. You don't deserve a plan. I don't have to discuss it. He promised me October 1st. He's gonna have a substantial amount of stuff done October 1st. He hasn't done a thing. He's buying time until winter time again, like he did for the last 2 years. And this
doing some
lady that,
road
code
improvements
enforcement lady.
and speed bumps. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I called Sean. Hey, can you give me a call? I was supposed to call him like October 1st. He told me, call us October 1st. We'll have.
That means we should.
I called him October 14th. I called him yesterday. I said, hey, Sean, Dave Daly, what's going on at Bob's?
Yeah.
I want a plan. I don't want to hear, we're gonna give him 2 more weeks, because I was supposed to hear about a plan October 1st. Some kind of plan. So I know that stuff's getting done. And I just kept on hearing it from this stupid code enforcement lady that's useless. I've been dealing with her for 3 years on Bob. I've been dealing with Bob for 22 years. I filed 100 complaints that you can't find in an office because they got thrown away. What did Sean say? Oh, well, Sean guaranteed me, Dave, I will personally take care of this. This will not go undone. It took 5 fire trucks to put out his neighborhood, to put out his house. Thank God I was home. Spontaneous combustion, nobody was around, Bob was in his house, the fire started. He had so much stuff on his property, it is unbelievable.
I was aware of that.
Oh, no, I don't want to hear hear about it. I had a bad day.
Don't get
Well,
it
you know
back.
what, motherfucker?
No.
I had a bad
No. But I think the
You know
goal
what?
there
I
is
had a
to bring the
bad
water in from the
I had a
Rockland
bad
side.
21 years dealing with
Um,
Bob. I had to have my PG&E turned off so I could cut his overhang. I want progress. I want to see a guy out there cutting his trees back. He doesn't have 5 inches around his house.
Okay. I know you are a really determined guy and I appreciate that. Just stay determined